that little thing. Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. I'm wearing one of my favorite t-shirts today. I know you can't see it, so I'll stand up. It says, "Stop eating crap, eat veggies." And we are going to have a wonderful cooking demonstration. Maybe not so much with veggies, but it's certainly not going to have any crap because today is the first Wednesday of the month, which means it's time for the return of Kathy Hester's Vegan Kitchen. She is one of the most talented chefs and recipe creators I know. Her food is inclusive of everyone. Can't have gluten, no problem. No oil, no. She can make any recipe with any restrictions. I wish she was like a hotel chef or a restaurant chef or a cruise chef because apparently they can't. So being February, I say, well, maybe you do something for Super Bowl, maybe you do something for Valentine's Day. So she's doing a little something for both. She's going to be making mini vegan crab cakes, which will be perfect for your Super Bowl party. And do you guys know, I've never in my life, and I'm 63 years old, watched a Super Bowl or been invited or been to a Super Bowl party. But for Valentine's Day, she's going to make a strawberry shake. But what's really cool about it, it doesn't have any ice cream. Please welcome the queen of the Ninja Creami Experience, Kathy Hester.
Thank you so much, Chef AJ. It's always a pleasure to come hang out with you. And I want that shirt. And you know I'm all about the t-shirt. So okay. I need to know where to get it.
I'll try to remember where I got it. People send me shirts, which I love. But yeah, it's a fun one. So, yep.
Ooh, I love that. Someone actually sent me, because I'm a spatula queen. So like I have like a lot of spatulas and shame some of my friends for having like one. But this, a student in Kathy's cooking club, I helped her do, through my class, she made a sushi party, a vegan sushi party, obviously, for her birthday. And she sent me these Harry Potter wooden spatulas that are gorgeous. I'm just so thankful.
You're a Harry Potter aficionado, aren't you?
I kind of am. I'm branching out to more mad scientists, silly cartoons too. But I find that, you know, if you look too, it's kind of a dark, dreary day here in Durham, North Carolina. And sometimes just having the right t-shirt or the right little, I don't know, thing can just really perk you up a lot. And I think that's super important. And what we're going to make today too is going to be super fun. So I want you to know these crab cakes obviously don't have any crab on them, right? I'm using beans, soy curls, and jackfruit, and we're putting them all together. But what if you didn't have one of those? You could use more of the others. I know that sounds silly, but the beans are kind of binding things together. Soy curls, and I'll let you kind of see that. I know we did soy curls last time, but these crab cakes are my friend's favorite. So this is what basically a dehydrated soy curl looks like. And let's get in there a little bit more.
That's so interesting. I wonder how they make them.
Well, they cook soybeans. The only ingredient in this is non-GMO soy beans. And then they extrude it through a machine. And it's the extrusion process that does this. So it looks like TVP, but it's a lot cleaner because it's just non-GMO soybeans. What I'm doing is just putting some hot water from the kettle in here. And we're going to let those soften up. It's not going to take any time at all for these to soften. And I'm going to show you how I strain them. So with soy curls, they don't taste like much. They taste a little bit more than tofu do, but you can either, like we could use broth, like mushroom broth and maybe some different spices and soak it up, or we can put it on the outside. These we're really using for their texture a lot, which is going to be really nice. So I'm going to change cameras, and we're also going to be using, this is my spaghetti monster strainer. I thought you would like that. And we've got some jackfruit, so I'm going to go back and forth. We're going to use the food processor.
Oh, I see you've got a Breville, Kathy.
Oh my God, I love it.
Me too. You know, they don't give us anything. I mean, they don't give me anything.
They don't give me
anything. You know, Breville has never wanted to do that, but I will say that it's a game changer because yes, it's more expensive, but man, it's so much faster and stronger and better. I gotta say,
there's no hole, no leakage can happen out of here. And we can talk about how I got mine half price if you want to.
If you like, I'm blown away. You know what got me to buy one? Well, of course, one of the reasons is because mine broke and I needed one. I wasn't going to get an extra one. You know, I had a Cuisinart and, you know, it just things wear out. And Dylan Holmes, who has a regular slot on this show, he did a demo with this dicer blade where he made like salsa in seconds. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to have that. Do you have that dicer blade for yours as well?
I don't have the dicer blade, but here, let me, this is all the stuff that came with it. So it does have shredding blades, slicing blades, different things. It has a smaller one, but I got mine for $250. And actually I'll come over here and switch cameras again. So I think I mention this every time to everyone. So on Amazon, you go to Amazon on your computer, up at the top where you can click a drop down, it says books, whatever. Amazon warehouse is a choice. It's returns. And so sometimes if you look, it'll tell you what's going on. It might be box is dented. Yes, thank you. I'll take that box is dented for $300 off. Thank you very much. Right. And when I went in, it said there was a scratch, a noticeable scratch. There's nothing on the food processor itself in that little accessory container. When you open it, in between somewhere on a plastic, there's a tiny scratch that I wouldn't have even looked for, except I was looking for a scratch. Now, there won't always be Breville's or Instant Pots or air fryers, but they often are. And sometimes there's even Ninja Creamies.
Wow. I did not know this.
Yeah, and I use it a lot because like right now I'm kind of doing all the plant milk makers, and I want to thank you, Chef AJ, for introducing me to the Nutri-Milk people because I have one on the way and I'm super excited about it. But like, so when I'm trying stuff, I end up with like I have 8 plant-based milk makers right now, right? So I don't want to spend full price on everything, and most of you don't either. But like most of the time, if you go there, you can get an Instant Pot for like Black Friday prices all the time. So I'm going to come back over here. So this is just a can of jackfruit that was in brine. You can sometimes get it in water. And you can go ahead and tear these apart with your hands. But I want you to see how easy this is. Let me make sure you're see. Yeah, you can see right over there. I'm going to turn on. We're just going to pulse. And it takes like no effort.
I know.
It ends up looking very fish-like. Like, look in there. See, doesn't that look like really good tuna or something like that?
It's been so long since I saw what tuna looked like, but I take your word for it.
Here we go. We'll come back over here and then we'll come back and do the soy curls. But okay. So I'm just going to scrape this into my bowl, and I'll let you see over here too. This is exactly how I make it if I'm going to make a tuna salad with it or anything like that. It's also really good to do any kind of if you're trying to remake a family favorite, maybe that had shredded chicken in it, this is another good way. And also remember, if you can't have soy, we could use maybe a can and a half of the
mushrooms, Kathy, lion mane's mushrooms. What do you think of that?
I like that. And I've actually used oyster mushrooms and king mushrooms. You can shred as well for barbecue.
Ooh.
So, and that with those things, and so jackfruit, again, is more of a texture. It doesn't have much flavor in it either. So but it really looks very seafoody and really helps these cakes look perfect. Okay, we're going to go back over to the sink. We're having extravaganza today. Are you feeling dizzy yet?
Every day with you is an extravaganza.
So we're just going to pour these in a strainer. It's only been like what, 5 minutes, if that, maybe 10. And I have my little happy spatula. Can you, oh, am I not in the right place? I am not in the right place.
I'm only seeing the bowl right now.
You guys, that is me.
It's cute.
There we go. So I have happy little face spatula guy, and I'm just going to push the water out. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to get a good, as much as you can out without like getting crazy. And then I'm going to put that in the food processor as well. So we'll turn this around. And this was about 2 cups of soy curls. And then I just covered them with hot water. There we go. I'm just going to pulse that. And this is really good too, to do something like this, to pulse it, to use as tacos as well. Okay, well, we're coming back and we're done with the food processor.
Do you think you'll ever get the blade that I'm talking about? Because I'd love to have like a private demonstration on how to use it.
Can you talk them into sending it to me?
I don't know them. They never. They're not like vinegar and the spice guy. They don't answer me.
It's like $200 or $300 plus another $100 for an adapter.
Wow.
That's why I'm being a little bit like, well.
Maybe it's cheaper when you buy the whole thing at the beginning. What do you think? Is that possible?
It is a little bit, but it wasn't for me because I saved like $250. Okay, so we've got some beans. In the recipe, it says chickpeas. So I'm not the lady with all the options without it mattering. Those are cannellini beans. You know what else it could be? Chickpeas. It could be any kind of bean you want. We just want to use them to help our binding. And we're just going to mash them some. And I do love this masher, one like this. Some of my ladies have these cool ones that have like a spring. So if your wrists aren't very good, that's one way to do it. I would not put black beans in here just because it would ruin the color, which in other words means if you're just trying to eat and not make it look like you made crab cakes, nobody cares. Right? And we're going to add in, for that, that was 1 can drained. And I saved the aquafaba for some other things.
Can you freeze aquafaba, Kathy, and use it
Yes,
later?
you can. I have some in the freezer in ice cube trays. A normal, I'm trying to think if this may be too much. A normal ice cube tray holds about 2 tablespoons. And that's about what you're looking for if you're making cookies or using it for something else. And so in the recipe, I say use flaxseed and water, but we could use flaxseed and aquafaba because I have some. And so we just want something to bind it. And depending on how dry or wet everything is, you may or may not need to add some oat flour or something like that. But my best friend's husband just had surgery today because he, unattached his Achilles tendon.
Ooh.
And this is one of his favorite things that I make. So I wanted to make some for him. And for Valentine's Day, I'm going to put just a little bit, about 1/4 cup. And I'm going to get some flaxseed meal and put about 2 tablespoons. Does anybody else have trouble opening these little bags that have the seals? I don't know why, but it seems like it it's harder when you do it that way.
You get your flax already ground, huh? Golden flax.
I do. I have some that is not ground as well. I haven't had mine go bad. I know that's one thing that people have issues with. But, and also you don't want to ever use just whole flaxseed anyhow. I feel like it's a waste of money. I mean, okay, let me be more specific. Buying whole flaxseed is not a waste of money. Buying whole flaxseed and grinding it can often save you money. Buying whole flaxseed and just eating them whole is a waste of money because they come out of your body whole. Have you noticed? And I don't think that's helpful.
They have to be ground to be assimilated.
Ooh, I like that. That sounds like a movie. The assimilation.
The assimilation of the flax.
Exactly.
Did you ever go to the Harry Potter ride at Universal?
Yes, we used to go every year for a long time.
Isn't that literally the best ride? And even the roller coaster too.
It's so much fun. And I kind of don't like roller coasters, but you know I'm going to get on that one. I think we can add this in. And the magic is in the spices. And I did clean the counter before I started. So we have a few things we're going to add in here. Now I'm going to talk about this one. And Chef AJ, you may have a different option already. Old Bay does have a salt-free version.
You're kidding. Can you get it at a regular store?
I don't usually see it, but when I've looked it up, they do have one. This is not it. So it doesn't look, this is like the regular one. I am going to go ahead and make a version as well, but I haven't yet. And we're going to use about 1 to 2 tablespoons. And if you use it unsalted, it's going to be a much better experience because you can have it as flavorful as you want before it gets too salty. We're going to put like, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mona asked if she could see what the jackfruit came in again.
Yes. As I go over to my recycling. I just got this. Yeah. I get it at the Asian market, Lee Ming's in Durham. You can get it at most places like that. It will either come in brine, which is in salt water, or water. So if you're watching your salt, you can get it in water usually, but you can also rinse it off really well.
Yeah, and Trader Joe's sells it too.
Oh, that's right. They do have it now. And it's young green jackfruit. Do not get ripe jackfruit. Because if you've ever had juicy fruit gum.
Oh my God, it's so good though.
That's what but you don't want crab cakes made of juicy fruit gum.
Is this before it turns into the luscious yellow product? This is sooner?
Yes. And actually, I think on the, here we go. On here, you can see it's green. And if you see whole ones in the market, when they get yellow, that's when they're ripe. And people are always asking me, can you make a video breaking this down? And I'm like, no, because it is a life goal to never break down a young jackfruit. Latex comes out of it and you have to wear gloves and stuff. So this is one of the times that I would say using a can is way easier, if that makes sense.
I wonder if that's how they invented glue.
I don't know, but it's kind of crazy. So I put in some dried minced parsley. Another good hint is if you have fresh parsley or fresh cilantro that's, oh, you're like, oh, I got to use that up today. And you know you're not going to. Just put it in the dehydrator. And the dehydrator can be the Breville oven air because it has a dehydrator function, or in your oven on the lowest setting, or get a cheap round dehydrator at the thrift store. And then
have you found that the Breville is as good as, like, say, an Excalibur for dehydrating?
I have the Breville, I have the Ninja back here that's kind of like the Breville, and then I have the Nesco super cheap dehydrator. I kind of feel like with this, I don't need the Excalibur. What do you think?
Well, the thing is 20 years ago when I went to Raw Culinary School, Living Light, I bought the Excalibur. So what I like about it is the 9 trays. So I make kale chips, things like that.
Well, I bought extra trays for the Breville and I have them in there. So I can make 4 big Breville trays, which is kind of a lot.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't know you could put that many in it.
Yeah, you do have to buy extra ones. We're going to put garlic and onion powder in here. We're doing about 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, a teaspoon of onion powder. And all of this is kind of like, you may need to change it depending on the strength of your powders and things. We're going to do about 2 teaspoons of regular paprika. And then you're like, well, this is great, Kathy. And I know it's going to taste like Old Bay, but we can use some seaweed to make it taste fishy, right? That's what we usually do for vegan fish substitutes. Now, I just happen to have these. You can find these in any Whole Foods. And they're billed kind of as a salt alternative. And this one's dulce and this is kelp. But you could also, if you have some nori for sushi, you could toast that and crumble it up. If you hate the taste of seafood, like Cheryl does, you can use less or just leave it out. It just depends if you want it to really taste seafoody. So I'm just going to put some in. I'm going to put less because I'm going to feed Cheryl some of these. And you can get the recipe over on Healthy Slow Cooking. It's in the show notes too. And Chef AJ, can you still hear me? Because you are kind of frozen.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but your video froze for me.
That is so weird that the last Summit interview I did, she said that. But as long as you can hear me, we're good. Yeah. I can see you and hear you.
Awesome. Then that is perfect. I just want to make sure I'm just not nattering on.
No, you're good. I just try not to interrupt too much.
Kathy
wants to know if you're talking about the air fryer trays. So do you actually dehydrate on those air fryer trays?
You know what? Let me just go grab one. It's just on the other side of here because I have the Breville set up on a different side. Oh, as you can hear, I have all the trays piled up.
Sometimes they're hard to get. Do you get them on the Breville website? Because I've seen them be out of stock.
They are often out of stock. Here we go. And so I guess these are the air fryer trays. What is this? Yeah.
Do you have a secret for cleaning them? Because I find that they can be tough sometimes.
They are tough. And I've just kind of decided that sometimes they're just not going to be perfect. And I'm okay with that.
Nice.
I know that's not solving anyone's problem. So we're just mixing everything in here because I'm not going to add any additional salt because I used the salt version of Old Bay. But if you weren't using salt version of Old Bay, you could either use some salt or my kind of last minute plain salt substitute is in a jar. Mix 1 tablespoon of granulated garlic, 1 tablespoon of granulated onion, or it can be onion powder, garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of ground celery seed. Mix it really well. Use it as you would salt. It adds that kind of salty thing your mouth is expecting, even though it doesn't really have salt as an ingredient. Okay. And one of the reasons I like these crab cakes so much is the way, let me come back down a little bit so you guys can kind of see how it looks very crabby from those ingredients. It's got those flakes that we're looking for. And while I don't want to eat a crab cake, sometimes it's nice to still have some things that are real familiar from when you grew up, because most of us didn't grow up vegan.
Yeah, I grew up Jewish, so I never had crab or crab cake. You know what I mean? So I don't even know what you guys are talking about. Never had any of that stuff.
Isn't there like a whitefish cake though? This would be similar to.
Is there a whitefish cake? Good. I don't remember one.
I think there is, because I learned how to cook from Molly Katzen. So I'm kind of an honorary Russian Jew when it comes to that. That's how I learned how to cook. So let's see if these are going to hold together. And if not, we'll add a little bit of flour if we need to. So you don't have to have these scoops, but it's going to make things easier. So if I was going to do this for Super Bowl party, I'm going to do little bitty ones. If I want to make it for my Valentine's dinner, I'm going to do bigger ones. So what this does is it just kind of helps everything be the same. And also you can just squish them. Actually, or we can take them and make little patties like this. It's really up to you. Now that my hands are dirty, and see how it's sticking together just fine. Crab cakes do crumble some. You could also dip these in some panko breadcrumbs and put them in the air fryer. You can cook them in the air fryer or the oven.
Somebody's saying there was a Jewish salmon cake. I never had it, but Suzanne says, how many crab cakes does it make? So it really depends on which scoop you use, I would imagine.
It does. It's on the recipe. I'm trying to see, can I see it from the side? It makes 14 big ones, it says, but it does depend on the scoop you make. And you could double, triple, quadruple the recipe. And even if you made this, let's say there's just 2 of you and you're like, wow, that's a lot of crab cakes. Thanks, but no thanks. You can freeze them. Max is saying, Max, my dog that you're probably hearing, is saying, yes, freeze them. And don't let the mailman in the driveway. He has another tip for you. And again, when you do it like this, it's just kind of nicer, but I don't always. A lot of times I just take that scoop and I just squish it on down if it's just for me. And if you don't have a scoop like this, you could use, this is probably 2 tablespoons, about maybe 3. And if something comes off, you can just squish her back in there. These are going to cook in less time than the big ones. I think the big ones I usually say for 10 or 15 minutes. So we will check them. I think it'll probably be in the air fryer. I would check them every 5 minutes if they're small. And every air fryer isn't going to cook exactly the same either. So we're going to have the small ones with the baskets, like the Phillips or the Go-Wise. That's probably going to cook faster than the Breville is going to, because it's a bigger oven and there's more space to heat. So you've got to kind of remember that too. And if I wanted to, I could probably just freeze the mixture and then make it again, but I usually am too lazy for things like that. And I am going to go ahead and make little and big crab cakes. Some are going to go to my friend Rob. Some are going to go in my freezer for the nights that I don't want to make anything, or I'm just kind of like blah. Then I can steam some asparagus, make a big salad. You could eat this on a salad. You could crumble this up on a potato. You could just use it to enhance whatever beans, grains, veggies that you're going to have. Okay, I'm going to wash my hands before I touch everything. Then we'll throw them in the oven. And I think I put my oven at 350 and it says 375 on the recipe. So it may take a little bit longer, but I'm going to change it real quick. Okay, so got these. I'm going to put them in the oven. And I'm going to set the timer for like 7 minutes. And I'm just going to set this stuff aside because the only difference in making the little ones and the big ones is using a bigger scoop. You could use like a 1/2 cup scoop if you wanted to. And while those cook, we're going to make a cool shake.
I cannot wait.
It's so easy, you guys, and we might even make 2. So this is actually kind of based off of a Frappuccino, which probably sounds weird. So in Frappuccinos, getting all my goody ingredients, they use xanthan gum. I think do I have, it's not in its real container anyhow. Xanthan gum, some people use it, some people don't. It's a thickener. In here, and I'll let you see it from over the top, that is chia seeds that I have ground finer in my spice grinder. So that's an ingredient that's more palatable to most people. So what's kind of cool about these ice creamless shakes is A, you don't need ice cream. B, you don't need milk. We're going to basically make this awesome shake out of oats, water, dates, and strawberries. And we'll talk about a few different ways we can make it. And if there's time, which I think there will be, we'll make a chocolate one too.
Hey, Kathy, do you have to grind the chia seeds?
Did you guys see that? I just totally popped all that out on here. I would, because it's not an overnight thing. So like if you were going to make it like overnight oats, because I want it to kind of happen immediately. So it being ground is going to let it absorb more of that liquid and thicken up quicker.
So do it first. So take the dry blender, grind the chia seeds first, and then add the rest of the ingredients.
Yes, I use a spice grinder. So I have a little Ninja blender and I have a Ninja spice grinder attachment. And I love this thing, and you can buy it again now. So I think the Ninja blender I use is like the Smart Torque smoothie or something, but it gives a little more motor behind this. And I grind a lot of spice blends in it. And I find unless you're doing a large batch, like a bag of chia might work well in a Vitamix. But if not, I would get a spice grinder. You can also use a coffee grinder. Just put white rice through it, which will pull out some of the coffee flavors, right? Do your spices or chia seeds, and then do some more white rice. So you can go back. So your family member can grind their coffee in peace, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. So we're going to put somewhere between 2 and 3 cups of water. And this is just filtered water from my reverse osmosis, putting about 2.5 cups in. We're going to make the milk first. So I'm going to use rolled oats. And let's talk about this. So when we're using rolled oats to make milk, we're trying to make sure it's not slimy. So we do a lot of things like this is fairly cold. You could put some ice cubes in it. We kind of don't care if it gets slimy because we're turning it into a milkshake. It's kind of like okra in gumbo. Use the slime for the power of good. You won't notice it in this. So this is a little bit different way than if we were just making oat milk by itself. We're going to put about a cup of oats. Let's see, it's a half a cup. Because I want it to be rich, like a whole milk or a little bit thicker than that. Let's see if Max is going to freak out about that. Okay, so we've got water, oats. I'm going to sweeten this with dates. You could sweeten this with anything. You can use fresh or frozen strawberries. Obviously, we're using frozen because it's February. Frozen is going to be less sweet and therefore need more sweetener. So I'm going to put these, and these aren't the medjool dates. So I'm going to put about the equivalent of 4 in there.
How do you decide, Kathy, how do you decide if you're going to do 2 or 3 cups of water?
You could go ahead and do 3. I'm deciding that because I thought it was a little bit not thick enough for me last time. I like a milkshake that stands up on its own and kind of walks out the door sassy. But if you're not sure and you're making this the first time, do 2.5. You can always add a little bit more water. And if you don't have a high-speed blender like a Vitamix Blendtec or a pretty strong Ninja, you may want to start with half the amount. This is going to make 2 shakes. But those are great questions. And I'm going to put a teaspoon of ground chia seeds in there. So basically, we're making the milk first. That's how I think about it. So we're just going to blend that up real good. And again, I'm going to just let it run low to kind of chop up some of those dates. Could I have chopped up the dates ahead of time? Yes. Could I have soaked them? Yes. But I didn't. And I'm going to let it sit a minute because you can kind of see a few pieces of date. We're not done blending. So if we're using fresh strawberries, we will put ice in there. Crushed ice is easier on your blender. If you have a high-speed blender, it can do an ice cube. It'll be okay. But with us using frozen strawberries, it may be frozen enough into a shake already. So we might not even have to futz with it at all, which will be cool. I'll do this a little bit more. And in here where the oats are, it could be anything. It could be cashews. It could be anything you would make milk out of. Grab a spatula. I'll let you guys see it's kind of a thick milk. There's still a couple of a couple of date pieces in here.
Remember that Nestle Quick that used to come in strawberry?
Oh, I used to love that stuff.
Is this what this kind of tastes like?
It is. It's like what it should have tasted like. And actually, I'll take these out and let you see the crab cakes. We're going to go a little bit longer. I'm going to go another 5 minutes on them, but that way you can kind of see.
They're cute.
Yeah, they definitely look like crab cakes. So
if somebody was lazy, Kathy, could they just use, plant milk already made and then maybe add some oats to it?
Absolutely. And you wouldn't even have to add oats to it if you didn't want to, for real. I'm gonna, it's on here. I just realized, let's get it just to blend up the oats, not the oats, the dates a little bit more. You could have used date syrup, maple syrup, whatever you want. That looks good. And if it's spring and you've got fresh, super ripe strawberries, you probably won't need any sweetener at all. So it really depends on your fruit. And I'm going to put some of these in here. And I'm going to put all of them in here. Who am I kidding? And so we're going to let this kind of blend up really well. And if it's not thick enough, or if it's too thick, we'll fix it. And I'll show you how to do that.
Kathy, I'm trying this today. I have all the ingredients. I might not have strawberries. I have frozen berries, though. It doesn't have to necessarily be strawberries, right? Where'd she go? Maybe she didn't hear me.
This is kind of like a regular sort of like shake. It's not super thick, but that's pretty thick still, right? Is that where you would want it, or would you want it thicker?
I think that looks good. Kathy, I have other frozen berries in my freezer. Would it be okay to use those so that I can make this like right away after the show?
Oh yeah, you can use, and you can use anything. You can use frozen berries, frozen bananas, anything you want. See, look, there's a big old hunk of strawberry. So I always kind of look around to see. We could also, I'm tasting it just to see, and I'm going to put a little bit of vanilla in there too. And a little bit of vanilla, or like you usually use vanilla powder, which would also work great.
Yeah.
I think it makes it taste a little bit sweeter. What do you think?
I think vanilla adds to things so well.
Okay. And if I wanted to make it thicker, I could add some crushed ice in there right now. But let me let you see, and then we'll make one, because I thought for Valentine's Day, it'd be nice to have it be like chocolate covered strawberry. So this is the
Ooh,
plain strawberry. And see, it's not thin. It's thicker than a normal smoothie, I think.
looks so good. Can't you pass it through Zoom?
Oh, I wish I could, but I can taste it for you. Yeah, the vanilla just did it. And when you do this with fresh strawberries or sweeter berries, again, you don't have to add the additional sweetener. You could use date paste, medjool dates. You can use any sweetener you want, really. I would not use date sugar because that's dried ground dates and they're not going to assimilate the same way. I really wish I could give you some of this. And let's put some chocolate chunks in it. I am not a chocolate person, but everybody else on the world is, it seems like. And I thought you would appreciate this. These are those little chocolate chips from Trader Joe's that are just, they don't have any sweetener in them. So you don't want to take a big handful and put in your mouth because they'll be unpleasant. But I'm going to take probably a couple of tablespoons of them. If you don't have a Trader Joe's, just get an unsweetened chocolate bar and cut it. One of my favorite feelings in the world is cutting through chocolate with a knife. It's like this perfect little crunch. And I don't know what it is about it, but I love it.
You know, it's funny. I always tell people if you don't have a Trader Joe's near you, move. I can't live without a Trader Joe's. I can live without a Whole Foods, but not a Trader Joe's.
Well, you know, I love my Trader Joe's, and I'm glad that I kind of live out in the suburbs, but I'm 15 minutes from any grocery store anywhere, which is pretty awesome. Okay, that's my crab cakes yelling at me. And my glass is fogging up. They probably could still go a little bit more. So what I'm testing for is how wet and squishy they are. So I'm going to give them another 5 minutes. If I was going to freeze them, I would let them cool from here and just stack them up and freeze them. So I'm going to give it another 5 minutes. Come back and chucks. So depending on where you are, so I get to go everywhere, and there's like a million Indian groceries and Asian groceries within 30 minutes, from 10 minutes to 30 minutes away. So I'm very lucky. But Walmart, of all places, is carrying more and more gluten-free and vegan stuff. I actually found some gluten-free pasta there I didn't even find at Whole Foods. So I try to keep looking, and I know I have a lot of viewers that are in Florida, and sometimes they don't have access to all the specialty grocery stores we do. And you probably don't have to cut the chocolate chips this much, but it brings me great joy. This is my Valentine present to myself. And I would love to know from you guys, if you end up cutting chocolate, does it make you feel as happy as it makes me feel, or is this just some sort of weird sensory disorder? So you can put as much or as little as you want. Put it all in. Right? All in or go home. And we're going to make these little flakes in here. We probably could, with the Trader Joe's chips are thinner. With really big regular chocolate chips, it's harder to blend them up. Plus, I just like to do it. So let me let you see what that looks like. Right. And so now it's like covered. It's like chocolate strawberry deliciousness. You could use as little, no strawberry, or a lot. And in the picture, I just decorated it with some other chips. It tastes just like a chocolate covered strawberry. Wow. Without any additional sugar or oil, because if you get a strawberry dipped in chocolate, there's going to be oil in there. Actually, I like it. And I think we might, if we have time, I'll make one without any frozen fruit so you can see it that way. Do we have maybe another 10 or 15 minutes?
Take your time, hon, as long as you like.
And what I did when I made this the other day is I took all this extra and I froze it in a creamy pint. And for those of you that don't know, the Creami makes the best whole food plant-based ice cream ever. And Chef AJ agrees with me on that one.
And anybody that doesn't agree, it's only because they don't have one.
Yes.
I mean, because come on, I mean, they try to defend their machine, and I get it. You spend a lot of money on your Vitamix, but it's not scoopable ice cream.
Yeah, it's a different kind of ice cream. You can do soft serve. Like someone's asked me if they could do soft serve in the Ninja Creami, and I was like, don't buy the Ninja Creami to do soft serve because I bet you have a tool. So while I feel like I'm the appliance whisperer in a lot of ways, I'm not trying to make everybody spend all their money. So I just want you to understand that. The reason I'm going through and looking at like the Ninja Creami or the plant-based milk makers, it's to give you a really good review, because there's not, especially with plant-based milk makers and things like that, there's not one right way for everyone. Wouldn't you agree on that, Chef AJ?
I always say get the biggest and best you can afford. And, things are always being developed, and it's unfortunate that we buy something that is the best at the time, but then something better comes on,
And for those of you who've been wanting to do Ninja Creami stuff, you can click Chef AJ's link through here because she's affiliate for my Ninja Creami Experience, which has an ebook, 2 3-hour classes, and lots of short how-to videos to take you from opening the box to making your first 2 pints and solving any problems. It's usually $97. And if you use the coupon code that she's putting there, it will get it for $49, almost 50% off. But I thought having all those silly numbers in between was not helpful. So that's going to be going on for the next few days. So please get it while it's still on sale. And I'm going to let these sit here. We'll do that, and then we'll look at these one more time. So I've got a cup of oats. I'm going to do about 2 or 3 cups of water. And here's another thing. This is not necessarily a recipe you have to be precise with. It's just not important. You want to make it to your taste. So I'm giving you measurements. So the first time you have a chance, I'm going to put a few more dates in there because it's not going to have any of the sweetness of a strawberry. And then I've got this is actually cacao powder and a different thing. I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons in here. We are going to put our tablespoon of chia seeds in, or a teaspoon of chia seeds.
Somebody's asking if you've ever tried it with frozen cherries. I bet it would be great.
That would be awesome. You can, the first one I ever made was a coconut pecan one. I've made a pumpkin pecan one. And then I started making us actually strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate ones, just like if after dinner, if we want something sweet, because, hey, you don't need it. This is what you need to make your chocolate shake. You could put cherries in there too, but we'll make our milk.
Yeah, I missed a question, Kathy, from Stephanie. What size was your scoop? If you hear me, maybe she's blending now and can't.
I'm going to let it settle for a second because of those dates. And I'm going to get some crushed ice. Now, we have a fancy dancy ice machine that makes like the hospital ice or Sonic ice or whatever you want to call it. But what it does is help me drink all the water. And this is going to work great. But like I said, regular ice cubes are going to work fine too. But so I've just got some ice in here. Sometimes I'll even just take this and get ice out of the door of the fridge. We want to make sure that dates are blended in really well. I think that's pretty good.
So Kathy, what's special about your ice maker?
It makes, what do they call it? Cheryl's not here. Here, I'll let you see the ice. It's like makes these, it's nuggets. That's the name of it. It makes nugget ice. So do you see?
So it's more like crushed ice than ice cubes in a way.
It's kind of like that. And so like you put it in your mouth and it is like awesome. So sometimes I will just be happy with dessert of chewing on my ice. It's the weirdest thing ever, but like I am a true Southerner in that there's not enough ice in my drinks, and we can use up all the ice that the fridge can make before half the day is over. I use a lot of ice. And Cheryl's mom gave us some money and that's what we got. It's been like where you could see it for a while. Okay, let me let you see this, but I just love it. So see, it's just like a dark chocolate milk. And at this point I could take a spoon. So if you're creating your own new creation, take a spoon at this point, taste it. Is it chocolatey enough? Is it sweet enough? Should we add some vanilla? I say yes. We could add even more dates and make it kind of like a caramel chocolate. And again, you can use vanilla powder instead of using vanilla extract. And actually, I'm going to blend this one more time just to make sure that vanilla gets incorporated really well. Okay. And usually, like if I'm in front of the fridge, I'm putting ice in here until it looks kind of like a little iceberg, but not too much. So like if I do like this, see how it's pretty full? And maybe just a little bit more. We can always add more, but if it's too thick, we'd have to add some already made plant-based milk. So, I mean, it is fixable, but let's say you're making this because you didn't have any milk, then you'd have to add some more water into it. I think I'm going to need some more ice. Yeah, for me, I need more ice for sure.
Hey, Kathy, I missed a question from Stephanie, what size your scoop was.
For the oats, I put 1 cup of oats in and about 3 cups of water. You can use less oats. You could use a half a cup of oats. If I was using cashews, I'd probably use a 1/4 cup of cashews. Oats, because to get that same kind of rich whole milk feeling of the plant-based milk that you're making. I think I'm still going to need more ice. I bet it's close. Actually, you're going to say I don't need any more ice. So see how thick that is? That's just as thick as the other one.
Mm.
And what happens is if you don't put chia seed or xanthan gum in here, it separates and you'll have ice and your chocolate milk, basically. Let's see how we can go ahead and let that go a little bit more to break up those ice pieces and make them a little bit smaller. You can kind of hear it, right? That it's not smooth. But you don't want to heat it. Because if you're using a high-speed blender and you blend it too long, it's diminishing returns because it's going to heat it up, melt the ice, and you're going to go backwards. But see how that's a little bit smoother? Let me get another spoon. So like that. And you could put more ice in here and make it thick, thick, thick if you want to. And I'm going to taste it. It's really good. It's definitely got that deep, dark, rich chocolate. You could have started with a tablespoon of cocoa if you wanted to, and then added more. In a pinch, like right now, let's say it's not quite sweet enough, I would use date syrup or date paste over adding in another date, because it'll be hard to blend it through the ice without heating it up and melting the ice. And date paste is super easy. Basically, just soak some dates, puree them, and keep them in the fridge. Do you use date paste at all, Chef
Oh my
AJ?
gosh, I've been making date paste for years. Absolutely. I always have some in my fridge or my freezer.
And it's so nice for things like this so that you can correct them at like the last minute. Whereas I feel like, you know, if you're going to, I don't know, start with a date, you have a different kind of commitment you're making. And let's look at these crab cakes and see if they're really done, or if I was just pretending. And of course, you could cook more than one pan in at a time.
Would you serve them with some kind of a sauce?
Yes, I'd probably make a remoulade sauce, or you could do a tartar sauce. So see how when we turn them over, they're still slightly moist. Can you see that?
Yep, looks delicious.
Yeah, and so let's cut one of these bad boys open. And those of you that have had crab cakes, I'm taking a taste.
Yum.
It's got a lot of different textures. So what's cool about these, and I talk about this a lot, when we're going plant-based, so especially if we end up just kind of going, eating a lot of salad, eating a lot of vegetables, which is wonderful. Sometimes you need something crunchy, and Chef AJ is great about all the different air fryer crunchy things. And this gives you a really nice texture. When you bite into it, you get the softness of the jackfruit, a little bit of the resistance from the soy curls. Everything's bound together with the beans, and the lovely spices make it taste really good. These are moist enough that it doesn't need a sauce, but I would maybe even make a tartar sauce, make like a tofu mayo.
Or a cocktail sauce someone's suggesting.
A cocktail sauce, like a sriracha mayo would be really good. And so to do that, I would take maybe a container of silken tofu, a little bit of salt or salt substitute, celery seed, a little bit of lemon juice or apple cider vinegar, a little bit of lemon zest, because the lemon would really go well with this to make it a little more aioli lemony. And then just put a squirt or two of, gosh, you could even use Louisiana hot sauce, sriracha, Texas Pete. And that would make a really nice homemade invented one. Take that same lemon mayo without the sriracha, mix in some dill pickle relish, or chopped dill pickles would be really delightful too.
Julie's suggesting tofu tartare or tofu tartar sauce. That sounds good.
Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much the way it is. Yeah, like with a tofu mayo. And then add pickles and some celery seed to it.
Nice. Daria wants to know, what's the brand of that unique ice maker?
It is the GE Opal. And you know what? Here, I'll take you over there. I'll get the other camera.
I mean, because my refrigerator just has an ice maker in it, and it makes two sizes, big and small.
Do you guys see this? It's massive.
You really like ice.
So you open it up, and then this, we keep it filled. It's not connected to anything, so we can put it wherever. but it's the GE profile. It is a ridiculous appliance. So I just want to let you know, it's like a $500 appliance. We got it gifted to us. We are very grateful. And we use 1 or 2 of those cubbies of ice a day.
Man, what do you do with all that ice?
You know what? If I'm one of those people, I don't understand how people drink tap water without ice.
So
But
funny.
I have these big glasses like this. I fill it up with ice, and then I drink all the water, eat some of the ice melts, I add more water and ice, and I just keep going all day. And I drink so much more water because of it, personally. But there are other people who hate cold water.
Yeah, I like mine kind of less cold.
Oh, and see, if you could like probably inject ice cubes into my bloodstream, I would be pretty happy.
You're funny. Rebecca says, how would you adapt this for deviled crab? I don't know what deviled crab is.
Oh, I'd have to look at so deviled crab is served in a crab shell, and it's basically, you could totally do this. What I would do is take this instead of the Old Bay. I would look up some recipes to see how they're spiced, because I don't know off the top of my head. But that is a lovely idea, and I might have to make that. I bet I could find some like crab-shaped dishes, and to put that in there would be very interesting. So I love that idea. You could use this exact mixture with just the spices of deviled crab, which is not answering your question exactly, but I could look real quick. You
know what I think, Kathy, is I had Kim Campbell on with her new book on Sunday, and she's coming out with more of a food line. I really think you need to come out with a spice line, especially one that we could just add to stuff to make sauce.
Well, and don't forget, you guys, go to healthyslowcooking.com. I've got a lot of my dry mix recipes for gravy, chickeny golden gravy, creamy sauce, chicken bouillon, beefy bouillon. The thing is it's an investment in product and space to store it. It's not a no, but also next week, I'm going to be doing about 20 lives for something special that's coming up that Chef AJ knows about, that I'm not supposed to say anything else about.
You can say something big is coming.
Something big is coming, and I'm involved in it. And something might be called the Appliance Whisperer. Can you imagine me?
I think you're allowed to say what your thing is in it. I think you're totally. People kind of know. People have spilled the beans.
Well, I try to be so good. I'm looking up on Wikipedia about the deviled crab, and let me see if I can find a recipe. And I love Kim, and I would love to do something with her. I guess I should talk to her about that.
Don't you guys live near each other?
We're like 20 or 30 minutes away. She lives really close.
She's got a beautiful new kitchen.
It's awesome. Let's see. It's got Worcestershire sauce, dry mustard, parsley, Tabasco, cayenne, lemon juice. I saw one recipe that did say Old Bay. I think it's the Worcestershire sauce that may be what I'm remembering, because growing up in North Carolina, deviled crab is a big thing here.
Wow.
But yeah, and the texture of all this being so close to kind of like that kind of crabbiness, I think that would work beautifully. And I'm not, if anybody wants to back a company to do spice blends, come talk to me.
Yeah. Oh, wow. This has been great. Such a wonderful February presentation. Any ideas what you might be making for us in March? Kathy has a regular slot with Kathy Hester's Vegan Kitchen, the first Wednesday of every month.
Well, I guess we would be looking at
St. Patrick's Day.
So
corned beef and cabbage.
Oh, you want to do corned beef and cabbage?
Yeah, I mean, isn't that traditional for St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah, I've done, I think I've made corned jackfruit, and I've made corned beets. Actually, I have a corned beet sandwich, you make the corned beets in the Instant Pot on plantbasedinstantpot.com. It is so good as a sandwich. And it looks, I had actually gotten it at a vegan restaurant in Winston, and we got it at night to go look at Christmas lights. I opened it in the dark and I thought they gave me the wrong sandwich. I thought they gave me a beef sandwich because it was sliced so thin and it was red that I had to call them and make sure it was the right sandwich.
Oh, Sheila's saying, please, corned beef and cabbage. March is also my birthday month, so I'll think of like what my biggest missing in and see if you can figure it out. Because if anybody can, it's you.
I would love that because I like trying to find those missing things. Like, and these milkshakes are from Cheryl going, I really want a milkshake. And I'm like, okay, what do I have in the house that we can make a milkshake out of? And it's so much easier. And you can make frappuccinos out of these too. But if you think of something that you've been missing, I would love to make it.
I will think about that. But hey, Tracy says, do you have a recipe for a Reuben sandwich? If you make the plant-based corned beef, that's what you use, right?
Right. And it does talk about that. So basically, I don't have a specific recipe up for Russian dressing, but basically a vegan or tofu mayo, some ketchup or tomato-based product. You probably could use tomato paste and kind of pull it off with some spices too, and pickles. And then you're going to do sauerkraut, and I love sauerkraut.
Yep.
And I have in my classes in Kathy's Cooking Club, we've done a couple of cheese classes where I make sliceable, oil-free vegan cheese.
Ooh, that's kind of cool.
Yep. So we could always do something like that too. That one does require a couple of ingredients that are a little more specialty ingredients.
That's okay. That sounds fabulous. And Karen's saying a potato bar, but that could be, let's see, when would you do a potato bar?
Ooh, we could do like fancy potato bar though. Like we could have like a taco meat option, right? We could have all of those. We could have like the seafood toppings and maybe do like some different sauces, like obviously not a 1-for-1, but like a bechamel or a nacho cheese, like my oat nacho cheese. I think didn't I make that on your show last year or the year before?
I will check. It doesn't sound familiar, but anything with cheese sounds good. Kathy, you really are a wizard of cooking, of machinery, of man, you're just so talented. What can I tell you?
You're so sweet. If you guys are dying for some nacho cheese, go to Healthy Slow Cooking and look up oat queso. You just put oats, spices, a little cornstarch in the blender, and you blend it for far too long. It's going to get on your nerves, but then you end up with warm, drippy, stretchy queso to put on anything you want. That's beautiful on potatoes.
Yeah, you're really like a food scientist, you know?
Well, it's so funny because I do like to explore things differently, but I don't have a culinary degree. I didn't go to school for this. I just like to figure things out, and I like it that way I get obsessed with certain ingredients. Like I really do love some soy curls. And if you can't have soy, remember, you could just use more beans and jackfruit and be just fine. But when you can have some of these things, it's really nice to add a little bit of everything in,
Hey, Kathy, I did go to Healthy Slow Cooking and I found the oat queso, and it has an ingredient in there that I'm not familiar with. And I was wondering if you could speak if it's necessary and where you get it. 1/4 teaspoon lactic acid.
Absolutely. Lactic acid, you can use something different, and it's magical for vegan cheese. So this isn't its original container. And I think I show you, there we go. So it's just this white powder. And
where do you buy it, Kathy?
I get it on Amazon. There's Druids is the brand I use. It's a vegan, gluten-free. It's made from sugar beets. And so like if I put some in my mouth, it tastes like almost like citric acid, like a Sour Patch Kid or something. It's not horrible, but what it does is it gives it that aged tang of a cheese. So if we add nutritional yeast and that together, nutritional yeast gives it the flavor of cheese. This gives it that tang. You can substitute maybe a 1/2 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar to give it a little bit of a tang, or a little bit of extra mustard powder or a little miso if you wanted to. When I do the sliceable cheese, I use lactic acid, and I do use carrageenan for that, food grade, of course, which makes it sliceable. But so this was from a big container that I got a couple of years ago, and you use such a little amount. I think last time I looked, it's about $10 for a container of it.
I see a Druid's Grove lactic acid, vegan, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher, 8 ounces for $14.99.
Okay, so it is, everything's gone up a little bit, but it will last you a long time. It's not something you're going to buy every month.
Well, that sounds interesting. I think I'll get it and try your recipe. Somebody's asking how long date paste lasts in the refrigerator. I've never seen date paste go bad in the fridge.
I think it would take several weeks.
I would think it would take several months, because I've kept it in there for 6 months and I don't want to say that everybody's fridge is a different temperature, but you can always freeze it too.
Yes. And the thing is, if you're ever unsure about something, even like this, honestly, this melting chocolate, I could freeze it in ice cube trays, and then I could add it with a little bit of water, non-dairy milk, and make this again. You can do that with aquafaba. You can freeze it. I freeze my homemade bouillon that way. I freeze so many things that way. And then you can just take your ice cube trays, put them in a resealable bag, and it takes up less space.
Wow. Karen says, can you use lactic acid on your face? I'm not sure why.
I have no idea, because as you can tell, I'm a wash and go gal, but I don't know if it has a facial application. I don't know. It tastes very similar to like absorbic acid or vitamin C. And I know you use vitamin C on your skin, so you could research it.
You know, Dr. Jessica Krant is regular on this show. Maybe we could ask her that. I've never heard that.
You have to tell me what she says.
Yeah. Okay. Can you freeze nut milks in ice cube trays?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
And homemade cold brew coffee, you can freeze in ice cube trays too.
Denise says, what a wealth of information this woman is. Well, I'm so glad you have a regular spot, because I so enjoy spending time with you, Kathy. I always learn something.
It's just the best. I just wish we could hang out all the time.
I wish you lived closer and would just make me food. I'm so busy.
North Carolina is beautiful.
I know it is. I spoke at the Triangle Veg Fest. Absolutely.
See, and my neighborhood's not real busy, and I could just walk over and give you crab cakes or strawberry shakes.
I can hang out with you and Kim Campbell and Howard Jacobson, but there's such a great vegan community here too. So she's saying lactic acid is an infoliator. Another Kathy says Kathy's amazing.
Thank you. You guys are so sweet. And
we have
as always, if you have some questions, you can ask me at Kathy Hester@gmail.com, if I can remember. You can find a lot of recipes on healthyslowcooking.com, plant-based-instant-pot.com. And don't forget, if you want to get that Ninja Creami class for $48 off, use the coupon that Chef AJ's got there and use her link so she gets the affiliate credit, please, because she deserves it.
And even if they don't, just get the course, because it's so good. I love making your caramel apple ice cream. I've got it in there right now.
And it's so good. So hint, it's pretty much just, isn't it just dates, a little
applesauce.
Applesauce, dates, and vanilla, I think, is it.
It's so good. I think there's a little bit of oats, but it's great. All right, you're the best. I can't wait to see you next month for our Irish extravaganza. And maybe I'll wear my Irish hat if I can find it.
I'll see if I can get one.
All right. Take care, Kathy. Thank you so much.
Bye.
And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back in about 45 minutes. We have a special show with Dr. Robert Vogel. He's the guy that did the brachial artery tourniquet test that Dr. Esselstyn talks about. So come on back, y'all.